Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today we're going to work on a Mitchell 308. It's a later version of the 308, but it is the 308, and it does have the, I believe it's called the planetary gear as opposed to the straight lined one. We'll show you how to take this one apart, service it, and get it back out there fishing again. So this is one of 3 reels that Joyce has sent me. And when I previewed this one, the bail was sticking. Well, I got it to work. And I got it to work by using a penetrating oil, making sure that we had the inside trip mechanism free, because that seemed to be the one that was sticking here. It seemed like it was holding too much pressure on. Then oiling the joints. There's only a spring behind the one and the other is dead-ended. And then just constantly, I would work them both ways. I would take the lever and keep tripping this, firing it to work the oil in. Same thing with the bail. Once you get a little oil on it, just keep working it in. And it didn't take very long to just restore the function. Cleaned it up, used the cotton swab. Got it nice and clean on the inside here where there was a little bit of dirt. Just use the cotton swab tip. And that piece is ready to go back fishing. So let's show you how to take the rest of the reel off, how to clean it up, and how to get it going again. So you start by taking the handle off. Then you can remove the side plate, which is a single screw. Make sure you have a wide enough screwdriver blade here. These things get butterflied if you try and go in with a small screwdriver. You just work up the edges, and the next thing you know, you can't get the screw out. But there's only a single screw take apart on the side plate for a 308. Once you remove that, there is a little lip up here. You need to be aware that when you go to reinstall, it goes under that lip. And I'm going to put the parts inside of a parts tray, which to me is nothing more than a bottom of a milk jug. And I'm going to put the spool in there as well. And here's your gearing system that you need to remove in order to make this reel work. You pull the pin out that's holding the axle shaft in. That enables you to remove the axle shaft. And in this case, you can remove the block, the idler block. And I like to put that pin right back into the idler block, just so I don't lose it. Then you can remove the outer ring from the planetary gear. You can remove the inner gear. And then we have to take our spool off. And I'm going to use my Mitchell tool for that. This is a 12mm screw, or nut, depending on how you're viewing it. And once you remove the internal gears, turn the reel over. You have a little set screw up here that's holding the rotor on. Now, you really don't need, you need a micro screwdriver. You really don't need to remove this, but you do if you're going to service the gearing on the other side, because you can't get the main gear out without taking this assembly off. So you have a through screw here. I think I have it loose enough now. This is your through screw, and if you don't pull that off, you don't get the rotor off. Here's your rotor. Now, ball bearing rotor, it's in the case here. You could unscrew this. I recommend that you don't unscrew this. And the reason for that is those ball bearings can go flying everywhere. This is a very odd kind of a setup for ball bearings. And my recommendation is, unless the ball bearing is broken, do not go in and take that ball bearing out of the case, because it will shoot bearings all over the place, and most likely you won't find them all, and you'll have to go ahead and buy a new one. But you'll see it can be done. There's a nut up top here. I don't know if it's showing up very well in here, but there is a nut here, and if you remove that nut, you can back the whole assembly up. Word of caution, don't do it. When you're just servicing the reel, apply oil to the bearing. we're going to apply grease to that pinion gear. And I'm just going to set that right there because we're not going to be very long with that. We're going to remove the main gear now. And usually just pull it out. There you go. This is your main gear. It's a nice piece of machined. I believe it's aluminum. You'll notice a couple of things while I'm doing this. I have a protective glove on. I use my parts tray. And some things you don't notice, or maybe you do. Somebody's probably saying, how come I haven't thanked the first responders in the first 4 minutes of my video? Well, thank you. Thank you for all it is that you're doing, as you've helped us all stay safe. And we really do appreciate everything it is that you're doing here. All right, the anti-reverse has come loose. Just hold that spring. Here's the dog. I'll show you how to set that up in a moment. And I'm just cleaning the case out now. That's what I really wanted to get to here. This one seemed to be operating fine, but it does have a lot of dried grease in there, so let's get that out. Now this is a later designed case for the 308, but the internals on this one are pretty much the same. Big favorite of this reel. So you want to set your dog spring that the hook is up here. The circle goes around that pivot point, and the tag end rests against this bottom of the shaft. Then you want to take your anti-reverse dog, and you got to catch the back of the hook here, and then mount it to the stud. And that's going to be a little bit hard, but you start something like that. And then rock it back and use whatever you can use to kind of bring it up over the stud properly. So if my hands got in the way, I apologize. So this is your proper orientation. You have the tag end of the spring comes down and rests on this side of the post. It goes around the post underneath this dog, and the squared up side is behind the shoulder of that. I'm going to hold that as I switch this over to override, because that's the way that I want to reset the main gear. So I've checked the teeth on the main gear. Just cleaning it off now. I like to work with soft pieces, cotton swabs and paper towels and things like that. And don't get aggressive with the cleaning unless needed. All right. This whole thing gets grease now. You get grease on the inside track for the oscillating gear. You get grease on the teeth. That's going to drive the pinion gear. And you get grease on the main shaft, which is what we're going to seat right now, so that that operates smoothly as well. Once you did all of that, you can reinsert that into the case, which we already cleaned. And once you put the case in, then you can put your rotor back on with your pinion gear. And remember, we took this set screw out, so you got to put the set screw back in to hold your rotor in place. And these Mitchells are interesting. There's several different set screw kind of formulations they use in their reels. You just need to know where to look for them. But depending on the type of reel, you'll figure out whether it's one variation or the other. This one has a big stud on the side of it. We've got the grease in there, so you don't have to grease the bottom. Let's just get that into the center. Next up then is the planetary gear type of a structure here. This is going to be what's causing the oscillation. And this is a fixed structure, but you got an offset cam on the gear itself. So that's what makes this thing go up and down. So you just need to kind of spin this until you get the gear in the right way, just like that. And it doesn't hurt to put a little bit of gear grease onto the face there. It's not going to do much, but just get some into the track itself where it's going to ride. Then we can reinstall the shaft. I want to clean that shaft if it hasn't been cleaned before. You'll notice that there's 2 holes in the shaft. If the shaft does not feel smooth, use some steel wool or something to smoothen it up. In this case, it's fine. Grab some grease, get that on there. Shaft goes in. And now you want to take your crosswind block. Same thing here, make sure it's clean. You don't want any dirt on there. It's a plastic piece. There's 2 holes. This one doesn't matter which way it goes. Just get it over the stud. And drop down your axle shaft. Find the 2 holes. There's 1, there's 2. Line them up inside. And then our little clip can go in there. That's the hold fast for the operation of that. Let's grab our handle at this point just to make sure everything turns nice and smooth. I'm going to hold some pressure on the rotor there while I do that. And then just give it a crank, make sure it's doing what it should be doing, and boy is it doing what it should be doing. That's kind of telling you why this is such a desirable reel among freshwater fishermen. Okay, simple enough. Cover goes on, that lip slips underneath there. Screwdriver it. Tighten it down. And again, I know this is a later version. If you find the red stripes on there, it's a later version of the 308. Then they moved over in the 308A. They went over to a conventional main gear drive. Look at that reel. All right, Joyce. This one's coming at you with a functional bail and a nice smooth interior. So that's it. That's your Mitchell 308. Right now I had that off because I reinstalled, so let's put it back on to make sure that we got it going. And we do. That was absent when we started this. All right, so that's it. So if I haven't thanked our first responders, which I believe I have, thank you again. Thank you to all who are watching. If you have any questions on this reel or any reel in particular, if you're hung up as you're trying to do a repair, leave a question in the comments section and I will try and get back to you and help you out. If you want to see more of these, please subscribe. My channel is really dependent on subscriptions and subscription growth. And finally, if you have a reel that needs to be worked on, send me an email on my address that follows on the business card, and I'll be happy to provide you with the repair information. So this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Thank you for watching.